To most, April 12th, 2013 was just another day. But in the country of France, this marks one of the most historic days in recent history, as the French government passed a bill to legalize same-sex marriage with a vote of 301 to 225. The passing of this bill did not come easily, though. Over the past 6 months, French citizens all across the country took to the streets to vocalize their opinions on the topic, from small protests of 100 people or so in the Loire Valley and other parts of wine country, to over 100,000 people taking to the gardens of Paris in some of the largest single-day protests this country has ever seen. Whether or not you were pro same-sex marriage or against it, when chanting "Un maman, un papa," which means one mother, one father, everyone seemed to have a stance on the topic. To get an inside look, I interviewed my friend Simon, a native Australian who has been living in France for the past 4 years, to pick his brain and try to get a better understanding of how he, his friends, and the rest of the country feel about the topic.
This is my friend Simon. He's an Australian who's been living in France the past 4 years. Simon, how do you think your stay in France has subjected you to this bill that has just recently been passed to legalize same-sex marriage in France?
Hi Kevin, thanks for having me on here. So yeah, as Kevin, as you pointed out, I've been living here for the last 4 years, and in the past year and a half, there's been quite a big movement for the legalization of same-sex marriage. How do I feel that I've been subjected to it? Well, it's very present. It's not like a social issue which is kind of being pushed away like in my home country where it's kind of avoided. Here it's very present. There are protests going on about people who want it, there are protests going about who doesn't want it. So, the one thing I like about how the French have attacked it is that they haven't shunned away from the issue.
And do you feel that your opinions match that of your French opinions?
That's a very interesting question. I think that, surprisingly, no. I mean, the majority of the people I spend time with around are French, and they are generally very like-minded towards me. We have very similar opinions on lots of things. But this is actually quite interesting, as a lot of my friends disagree with my stance on gay marriage. I'm for gay marriage. I'm very for gay marriage. But my friends who I feel sort of we have the same views on lots of issues. This is an issue which is very different.
And as you just mentioned, the protests that have gone on the last 6 months, do you think these protests have swayed your opinion either way? Has it helped you make a decision to be pro same-sex marriage or anti-same-sex marriage?
I think no. I think that this is generally an issue in which people, due to their upbringing, they're pretty much set in stone how they feel about it, because the way their parents view it, the way that their community views it, and I think that it hasn't enforced my view or discouraged my views. It's just, I enjoy seeing people going out there and protesting for it. And at the same time, I appreciate people going out and protesting against it. I don't agree with what they're saying, but I think, it hasn't swayed me.
Yeah. And at this point in time, now that the bill has already passed, if this were to happen again, or say in any other country, how do you think the government could have gone about this differently in a way that would have reached out to the entire population, the entire population on the same side?
I think that it's very difficult with an issue like this, because it is very much a yes or no kind of issue. It's not something in which compromise is possible. It is either going to be legal or it is going to be illegal. It's about ensuring that people, regardless of sexual orientation, have the same rights, and you can't really compromise that. I think the French have done it very well, and it's quite tough in trying to think about how they could have, or other countries could have done it differently. I'm really not sure. I do like how the French have addressed it.
It is a difficult question, but ultimately, in the end, now that this bill has passed, do you think that the country of France or the government of France has made the right decision? And if they were to do this again, how could they have made this better in a way that would appeal to everyone?
I think that ultimately the country of France is not happy. But I think in 10 years' time, people will look back and appreciate that how France got out on the front foot and actually tackled something before a lot of their European counterparts hadn't. Do I think that yeah, I think that's pretty much, people are very unhappy, and it's a very divisive issue.
But you think that's something that will evolve over time?
I
If people in general, appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, people are confused. There's a lot of arguments about we have so many other issues with the European debt crisis, and that this really should take a backseat to all of those things. And I can kind of understand why people say that, but I think that when we look back on this in 10 years, we will really congratulate France and hold France in quite high adoration for how they've handled this.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Simon, for all your time.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure, and I've been very glad to hear your points on all this stuff.
Thank you.
Speaking with Simon was incredibly eye-opening, and it was interesting to see that even though he has only lived here for a short period of time, he, like most other French citizens, have a strong stance on the matter, and that he does not believe his friends, the protests, nor the media were able to sway his opinion one way or another. As for now, France will face an uphill battle in striving to maintain equal rights for the same-sex couples relative to those of straight couples, but in a country with the resiliency and determination of France, I believe that anything is possible, and that the people will ultimately rally together and support one another to the fullest.